Leah's voice cracked through the tense silence like a whip. Leah, you just won't listen, will you? She muttered, her tone sharp, cold, almost trembling with anger. She sat with her shoulders squared and her jaw clenched, her fingers curling tightly into the fabric of her dress. Her nails dug into her palms with such force, it was almost painful. But she didn't care. Her frustration had reached a breaking point. Her body screamed to move, to hit, to shove, to do anything. But she held herself back, barely. She was glaring at the man in front of her like he was the dumbest creature alive. And there he was. Jungkook sat on the couch with his legs stiff, fists pressed tightly against his knees, eyes red with unshed tears, and more angrier than her. He was sitting like a scolded child. He didn't flinch. He didn't speak. He just sat there, breathing hard, like he was holding something in. He stared at her with wide eyes that seemed far too childish for someone his age. His face was flushed, brows pulled low in frustration, until finally, in a low and dangerously slow voice, he said it again. Jungkook, I'm not saying no. Leah's eyes widened for a second, and then she laughed. But it wasn't light, it was bitter, mocking, the kind of laugh that comes from someone who's just too tired of reasoning anymore. Leah, you've really lost your mind, haven't you? She snapped. You mental idiot. You can't even think straight. Your parents are bribing you. For God's sake, marriage isn't some damn fairy tale. It's real life, and your childish brain can't even process that. The word mental hit him like a slap. Jungkook's entire expression shifted. His breathing hitched. His mouth opened a little, but nothing came out. His fists slowly loosened as the insults sank into his skin. His eyes dropped to his lap, his gaze wandering helplessly like a child who didn't understand why he was being punished. He scratched the back of his ear, then his neck, then the edge of his nose, a nervous habit, unconscious and timid. Jungkook, I'm not mental, he whispered, barely audible, and I'm not childish. It was the kind of voice that makes people stop, the kind that isn't defensive, but deeply, heartbreakingly genuine, like a child trying to convince someone that he really can be trusted to hold the cup without dropping it. But Leah didn't stop. She rolled her eyes and let out another cold laugh, tilting her head as she looked down at him. Leah, every mental person says they're not mental, she spat. And that was enough. Something in Jungkook's chest twisted sharply. He felt the sting behind his eyes, and before he could stop it, a single tear rolled down his cheek. He didn't wipe it, didn't flinch. He just sat there, hollow and quiet. Jungkook, I don't care what you say anymore, he said softly, yet firmly. You can yell, you can threaten me, you can hit me. I still won't say no to the marriage. He wasn't thinking about love. He didn't understand love anymore. All he knew was what his parents had promised. His own mansion, a big TV, a room with shiny walls, no caretakers telling him what to do, no one yelling at him, just freedom, peace. And he would do anything to get that. But as he slowly began to rise from the couch, not wanting to have any more conversations, his head lowered in defeat, a lump forming in his throat. But Leah suddenly lunged forward and grabbed his jaw roughly, her fingers wrapped around his face, forcing him to look up at her. His eyes blinked rapidly, startled, and his body panicked. His heart raced, pounding loud in his ears. Leah, I have a boyfriend, she screamed, her face inches from his. If you don't say no to this marriage, I swear I will make your life hell. You hear me? I'll ruin you. Jungkook's hands trembled at his sides. He couldn't speak. He was too scared now, too overwhelmed. But her glare, the coldness in her eyes, it triggered something dark, something buried. She looked just like her, the maid who used to slap his hands away from food, who used to yell when no one else was watching. One day, he had grabbed her hair in anger, and he remembered what followed clearly. The scolding, the shame, the tears, and yet, before his mind could stop him, he did the same. His hand shot up, and he grabbed a fistful of Leah's hair, pulling hard. Jungkook, you he growled through clenched teeth, his face twisted in pain more than anger. Leah gasped in shock, her whole body jerking backward as her hands flew up to fight him off. Leah, you mental, let go of me, she cried, trying to pry his fingers off, but he was stronger. Her legs scrambled to regain balance as she pounded his arm with her fists. Jungkook, you have to marry me, he shouted. I'm not saying no. The place was filled with the sound of breathing, heavy, uneven, fast, and tension so thick it could choke. Leah was about to throw more venom, her lips forming more insults. But then footsteps echoed from the hallway. Someone was coming upstairs. Both of them froze. Jungkook's breath hitched, his eyes widened, his hands dropped from her hair like they were on fire. Panic washed over his face. Dad? The memory of last time crashed into him. The yelling, the slaps, the crying. After he had grabbed the maid by her hair, he backed away immediately, his body shaking as he stepped aside, unwilling to face it all again. Leah quickly adjusted her dress, brushing down her hair in angry frustration. She didn't want anyone seeing her like this either. Her pride couldn't take it. But when they turned to see who it was, everything shifted. It wasn't his dad. It was you. There you stood, halfway up the staircase, eyes wide with confusion, your lips slightly parted. Jungkook froze. He didn't breathe. His eyes flickered to yours for a split second before darting away. His heart sank. His hair was a mess. His eyes were red. He looked broken, small, and you had seen him like this. He couldn't bear it. He didn't want to look like that in front of you. Not when you were the only one who didn't make him feel like a mistake. Leah rolled her eyes at the sight of you and immediately grabbed her purse. Yin. Leah? You asked, confused. Where are you going? She didn't even slow down. Leah. None of your business, Yin. She snapped coldly and walked right past you without another word. You blinked, caught between her harshness and the silence that followed, but your eyes naturally fell back to Jungkook. He was still sitting there, barely breathing, his gaze locked on the floor, but you noticed the way his lashes fluttered slightly when you stepped closer. You saw him watching you, just barely, from the corner of his eye, and you offered a small, kind smile. Yin. Hey, Jungkook, you said gently, your voice like warm rain after a storm. He didn't respond, not with words, but you saw his shoulders tremble the tiniest bit. You approached quietly, the carpet soft beneath your shoes. As you reached the couch, you sat beside him slowly, trying not to startle him, your knees barely brushing the fabric of his pants. But the moment you settled down, he shifted, just a little. He scooted away, not roughly, but enough to make your heart sink. He didn't even glance at you, just curled slightly inwards, head tilting down, almost like he was hiding from your gaze. You had come only to tell him his parents were asking for him inside, calling him for dinner. Yin. Jungkook, are you okay? You asked gently, your voice softer than it had been all day. You reached out, laying your hand lightly on his shoulder. His body immediately, his chest rose, then fell, and all he did was give a small shake of his head. No, he wasn't okay, and he couldn't lie to you, not to you. Not when your voice sounded like kindness and your touch felt like safety. Seeing that, you scooted a little closer, your brows pinched with concern, hand still on his shoulder, not letting him pull away further. Yin. Hey, you whispered, leaning in a little more. Look at me, please. He hesitated, but you saw it, in his fingers, the way they clutched his own sleeves desperately, so you reached up, slowly, gently. Your fingers slipped under his chin, your thumb brushing the underside ever so slightly before tilting his face toward you. And your breath caught in your throat. His face, his beautiful, gentle face, was soaked in tears. His cheeks were red and damp, his nose slightly pink, but it was the faint scratch marks along his jaw that made your heart twist violently. They weren't deep, but they were fresh, red, almost shaped like nails. You could tell someone had held his face, gripped it, hurt him. Yin. What? Jungkook, what happened? Your voice was shaking now. Who did this to you? You already knew the answer. Only one person had been alone with him before you came. Still, you needed to hear it, and so did he. He sniffled, biting his trembling lip. Jungkook, your sister, he mumbled, voice barely formed between hiccups. She hates me. His throat bobbed as he swallowed, blinking rapidly to fight the next round of tears. Jungkook, she called me childish and mental, he whimpered, his voice cracking mid-sentence, and then he broke. His small hands fisted in his lap as his face scrunched up again, tears pouring down like flood. His shoulders shook with each quiet sob, his bottom lip sticking out in the most helpless pout, almost resembling like a baby, and it shattered you. You cupped his face gently, wiping his tears with your thumb as gently as you could. Yin. Hey, no, don't cry, you whispered, brushing the tears from under his lashes. You're not childish. You're a good boy, Jungkook. So good. I'll talk to her. I'll scold her. I swear. He sniffled, watching your face so closely now, as if trying to memorize the softness in your eyes, and slowly, carefully, he leaned forward. You didn't stop him. You didn't even realize when your arms opened up. You let him come to you. Let him curl into your arms like a scared boy needing shelter. Your body relaxed as he pressed his head to your chest, his tears wetting the fabric of your dress. Your hand found the back of his head, fingers threading through his dark hair as your other arm held him close against you. His fingers lightly clutched your sleeve, like he didn't want to lose the comfort. And even as you tried to be calm for him, your eyes burned with quiet rage. Leah did this? How could she hurt him like this? He was fragile in ways no one around him seemed to notice. You rested your cheek on top of his head as you whispered, Jeon Jungkook, if you don't want to marry her, I'll talk to your dad. I'll make them stop this. You don't have to. He shook his head quickly, nuzzling closer to your chest, the warmth of your voice making his eyes flutter shut. Jungkook, no, he murmured, voice sleepy and muffled now. I want to marry her. The words hit you in a place you didn't expect. You froze for a second. A strange ache bloomed in your chest, a hint of jealousy, maybe, or worry, you didn't know. But you smiled softly, brushing your nails lightly through his hair again. He didn't tell you the truth, of course. He didn't tell you about the things his father had promised him if he agreed to marry Leah, the private room, the big bed, the freedom. He didn't tell you he was doing it all for that, because even though his heart still worked in the ways of a child, he didn't want you to think he was one, not you. He wanted you to look at him like someone who could decide things for himself. Jungkook, I want to marry her, he repeated quietly, but she doesn't want to marry me. His words came out like a small whimper, and then he let out a soft huff against your chest, his forehead gently bumping into your collarbone as he clung to you tighter. You bit your lip, feeling butterflies you didn't want to feel. He was adorable, and yet, the sadness in his voice made your chest hurt. Yin, I'll talk to her, you whispered. I'll make her understand. Don't worry, okay? He didn't answer. His arms only wrapped a little tighter around you, his body heavier now like he was melting in your embrace. You felt his eyelashes flutter against your skin, his breathing slowing. Let's go back, you said softly after a while, voice low. Your father's waiting. But Jungkook gave a sleepy shake of his head. Jungkook, please, he mumbled, words thick and slurred now. Just hug me for 5 more minutes. Just 5, promise. You smiled down at him, bending your head. You kissed the top of his hair softly. Yin, okay, 5 more minutes, you whispered, running your fingers through his hair again. I'll stay right here. From the very first moment he saw you, on that day when you walked into his father's grand party beside your sister, something in him shifted. You glowed in a way no one else did. His gaze lingered a little longer than it should have, his mind quietly wondering who you were. And then you smiled at him, not out of politeness, not the kind people give to someone they're forced to meet. It was soft, warm, meant only for him. It stunned him more than he expected. From that day on, his bond with you was different, strange even. He couldn't explain it. He hadn't known you long, but it didn't matter. You felt safe, comforting. With you, he didn't have to pretend. He didn't have to be cautious or careful with his words. He could tell you anything, even in the briefest exchanges, and the way you listened. That was the first time he realized silence with someone could feel like a conversation too. And as he buried his face deeper into your chest, letting out a soft sigh of comfort, you stared at the wall, mind restless. The wedding was into days, and suddenly, you weren't sure anymore if he'd be safe in her hands. It was finally the day that everyone had been preparing for. The day Jungkook was supposed to marry Leah. The venue looked like it had been touched by royalty. Every detail was perfect, just like Leah wanted. Chairs were lined up in neat rows, a soft piano melody playing in the background, and guests in expensive suits and dresses slowly filling the area. It was not a large crowd, only people who truly mattered, business associates, family friends, and a few close relatives. You sat far away from the altar, not mingling with the rest. You wore a soft pastel dress, hair neatly done, but your heart wasn't calm, it was unsettled. Your eyes were locked onto one person, Jungkook. He was standing at the altar, dressed in a black suit, his hair styled neatly, his face as handsome as ever, but his posture told another story. He wasn't excited. He wasn't glowing with happiness like a groom should be. He was standing stiffly, eyes darting nervously toward the entrance every few minutes, shifting his weight from one leg to the other, hands twisting behind his back. Just minutes ago, his father had come up to him, clearly frustrated. You had overheard him whisper sharply into Jungkook's ear, "Stand straight, don't move, don't say a word until the bride arrives." And so he stood there, waiting, silent. But the bride, where was she? The priest was already ready, his book open. The air was thick with expectation. Everyone was beginning to glance around. The whispers had started. You glanced at your phone for the time. It was half past the hour Leah was supposed to walk down the aisle. You bit your lip. You had seen her in the morning. She was dressed casually and carefree. But then, she suddenly announced that she was heading out for her makeup appointment. Your mother had frowned. I already called the makeup artist to come home, Leah. But Leah just laughed and waved her hand. I don't trust anyone but the salon girl I go to. I'll be quick. Promise. Everyone believed her. Everyone trusted her. But now, the minutes kept passing. She hadn't returned. No messages. No calls. You turned your eyes back to Jungkook. He looked awkward, lost, like he was trying not to appear confused or embarrassed in front of the crowd. He adjusted the cuff of his sleeve, then looked at the entrance again, hope still lingering in his eyes. Then suddenly, your phone rang. You frowned at the caller ID. Mom. You immediately picked it up. Yin. Yes, Mom. Mom. Yin. Come to the bridal room right now. Hurry. Yin. What? What happened? You gasped. Mom, just come. Now. She hung up without another word. Your heart instantly dropped to your stomach. Without wasting a second, you stood and ran toward the back hallway of the venue, your heels echoing on the marble floor. Something was terribly wrong. You could feel it in your bones. As soon as you opened the door, your breath caught in your throat. Your mother was there. Your father was there. Even Jungkook's father was there. But Leah wasn't. Your heart pounded in your chest. Yin. What? What's going on? Where's Leah? You asked breathlessly. No one answered. Your father sighed deeply and handed you a folded piece of paper. His hand was trembling slightly. Yin, what is this? You asked. Why is everyone so quiet? You unfolded the letter slowly. Your eyes scanned the lines. With each word, your vision blurred. I'm sorry, but I can't do this. I can't marry a mentally unstable man. This isn't what I want. Please don't look for me. Leah, the paper slipped from your fingers. Everything inside you went cold. She ran away. She abandoned him. And worse, she called him mentally unstable in front of his own family. Jungkook's father, who had been quiet till now, finally spoke in a low voice. I never knew Leah hated Jungkook this much. How could she do this to him? On the wedding day, you stood frozen, your legs refusing to move, your heart filled with guilt. You had seen how she treated him, how she mocked his silence, dismissed his kindness, ignored him completely. You tried talking to her. You tried making her understand, but you had never told anyone about it. Now it was too late. You looked up. Everyone in the room was staring at you, not with blame, but with something else, like they were silently waiting for you to understand something on your own. Then your mother stepped forward, her voice gentle but heavy. Yin, please listen to us. We need a favor. You've always been the one we could count on. You've always been kind. This marriage, it isn't just about two people loving each other. It's about respect, image, promises. It holds weight. Jungkook's family, the guests, the business TIs, everything is connected to this wedding. If it breaks now, the shame will destroy everything. Your mind started spinning. No. You already knew what she was about to say. Yin, Mom, stop, please, you whispered, your voice trembling. I know what you're thinking. This can't happen. I can't marry him. He doesn't love me. He loves Leah. Jungkook's father spoke again, politely. We won't force anyone, Mrs. Park. If it's not possible, I'll take Jungkook home. But before your mother could respond, she pulled you aside. Her grip on your wrist was tight. Her voice lowered to a whisper meant only for you. You can't say no, you owe us. Your breath caught in your throat. Yin, what? You whispered. We took you in when no one wanted you. We raised you like our own. Gave you everything. We never treated you like a stepdaughter. Now prove that everything we did for you wasn't a waste. And there, tears spilled from your eyes. They weren't asking you. They were demanding their payment, your life, your freedom, your future. You looked down at the floor, your vision swimming. Your body felt like it was shattering from the inside. They were reminding you that you were not theirs, not by blood. You were the adopted girl they had taken in, and now they wanted their price. You lowered your eyes, helpless, your lips barely moved, but you whispered the word they wanted to hear. Yin, okay? And just like that, the tears poured down, hot, silent, endless. Your mother instantly pulled you into a tight hug. Thank you so much, she whispered tearfully. Leah showed us her true colors, but you saved our respect. You saved this family's dignity, and in that moment, you didn't feel like a bride. You didn't feel like a daughter. You felt like a sacrifice soon dressed in silk and flowers. Your heart thudded like a drum inside your chest as you clutched your father's arm tightly, each step forward down the carpeted aisle feeling heavier than the last. The veil covering your face blurred your vision, but not your thoughts. You didn't need to see Jungkook to imagine him standing there at the altar, waiting patiently, probably nervously, believing it was Leah walking toward him. You weren't supposed to be here, and every inch of your skin burned with the weight of that truth. You could hear the murmurs of the guests, their curious eyes fixed on you, their confusion slowly building. But you didn't dare glance at anyone. You couldn't. Not when your stomach was twisting in knots and your hands were trembling so violently you were afraid the bouquet might slip from your grasp. Then, you reached him. You stopped beside Jungkook at the altar. Your steps had slowed the moment you reached the end of the aisle. The lights dimmed gently above, focusing only on the two of you now standing in the spotlight. Your hands trembled lightly around the bouquet, and under your veil, your breath came in short, careful exhales. You didn't dare look at him. Not yet. Not when your legs barely supported you. Beside you, Jungkook stood stiff, almost statue-like. At first, he didn't notice. He had been anxiously rocking back and forth, shoulders slightly hunched, chewing the inside of his cheek the way he always did when nervous. His hands had been clenched into his tuxedo, trying his best to stay still as his father instructed. But then, something shifted. Something felt different. The energy beside him was no longer familiar. The aura, so quiet, almost hesitant, wasn't the one he'd been waiting for all morning. His brows pulled together slowly, and then his head tilted just slightly, as if trying to see out of the corner of his eye. And then, he peeked, carefully, nervously. His lips parted the moment he caught a glimpse of the face behind the veil. He blinked, once, twice. His whole body stilled, like someone had frozen him in place. His fingers, which were clenched earlier, slowly opened, shaking slightly as they hovered beside him. His throat bobbed as he swallowed hard, and his chest rose quickly, eyes locked on you now like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. You felt his gaze land on you, sharp and confused. It made your shoulders tighten under the dress, your fingers gripped tighter around the flowers, your throat drying up as you kept your eyes fixed on the floor. And then he spoke. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be ... It was cracked, uneven, soft but trembling like glass about to break. Jungkook, why yin? You flinched, your body reacting before your brain could. What are you doing here? His words fell with confusion, not anger, not yet. You closed your eyes behind the veil. The tremble in his voice was a stab to your chest. Then, you watched through your blurry veil as he looked over at his father, silently begging for an answer. But Mr. Jeon didn't offer comfort, just a cold, silent glare that made Jungkook's entire frame stiffen in fear. That moment alone seemed to change something in him. Jungkook looked down, his breath shaky, hands curling into fists as a whisper escaped his lips, almost like he was talking to himself more than anyone else. Jungkook, my house, my TV, my bed. He mumbled the words like a list of things he'd dreamed of, gifts promised to him for agreeing to this marriage only with Leah. My video games. Then, a pause taking a sharp inhale, and a quiet sob that slipped out before he could hold it back. He lowered his head, biting his lip hard to stop the tears that were already forming. But they came anyway, silently sliding down his cheeks, one after another. To Jungkook, Leah wasn't just a bride. She was freedom, a symbol of everything new he was promised. A new life, a new home, his own TV, a bed that didn't squeak, a space where he wouldn't be treated like a burden. She was the escape he held onto like a lifeline. And now, standing here beside you, everything he imagined crumbled. He didn't want you. He wanted Leah. That truth echoed through your mind louder than the vows the priest recited, and it crushed you. You were ruining everything, weren't you? His future, his dreams. Beside you, Jungkook hadn't stopped crying either. He had been too shocked to speak, his breath hiccuping between sobs. But then, the priest's voice echoed again, saying, a vow. And for a brief moment Jungkook's eyes shifted sideways, just enough to catch a glimpse of you from the corner of his eye. And that was all it took. He stilled, completely, because what he saw made his heart clench in a way he hadn't expected. He saw your eyes, red, watery, so tired. Your fingers were trembling so badly it looked like the bouquet would fall any moment. And suddenly, the anger in him began to fade. You weren't just some random girl standing here. You weren't just the replacement. You were you, his best friend, the the one who held his face and made him look up when he wanted to hide, the one who wiped his tears without asking questions, the one who never made him feel stupid, or broken, or childish. You were the only person who ever made him feel safe, and now, you were crying, maybe, because of him. His fingers twitched at his side. He wanted to move. He wanted to reach out and wipe those tears. He wanted to whisper your name and ask if you were okay. But when he looked up, his father's eyes were already on him, stern, strict, silent. The message was clear. Don't move, don't speak. So he didn't. He stayed still, fists clenched, jaw shaking, heart screaming. He couldn't comfort you. He couldn't hold your hand. He couldn't even look at you for more than a second without the lump in his throat growing heavier. But if he could, if the world would just give him one moment of freedom, he'd wrap his arms around you and whisper, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Please don't cry like this." But the world didn't pause. The priest kept speaking. The hall stayed silent. The ceremony was over. The vows were spoken. The rituals were done. But nothing about it felt real, not to you. The crowd had clapped softly when the priest announced you both husband and wife, but there was no joy, no laughter, no kiss. Instead, Jungkook just turned to you, and without warning, he pulled you into a tight hug. It was sudden. His arms wrapped around you like he was trying to hold on to something before it disappeared. His breath was warm and trembling near your neck. "Don't cry, Yin, please. Don't cry," he whispered. His voice had cracked near the end. Now, both of you sat quietly in the back of the wedding car. Jungkook was staring out the window, his head resting against the cool glass, not saying a single word since that hug. His face was unreadable, but his jaw was tight, and his eyes didn't blink much. Jungkook's fingers slowly rubbed over each other in his lap, restless and anxious. His shoulders were tense, his throat moved as he swallowed hard. Inside his mind, he was falling apart. This wasn't the plan. He was supposed to marry Leah. He was supposed to get all the things he was promised. But now he thought he had to go back to that cold, empty house. Back to the caretakers who called him names and punished him behind his parents' back. Back to that one dark room where he used to cry himself to sleep, biting the pillow so no one heard him. A tear escaped the corner of his eye, and still, he didn't speak, until finally, "Jungkook, where's Leah?" he asked. His voice was so soft, so fragile. You turned to him fast, your chest tightening instantly when you saw his face. His big doe eyes were filled with tears, his lips trembling and his fingers twitching nervously on his lap. Your heart sank deep into your stomach. "Yin, I don't know, Jungkook," you whispered, your voice shaking. I'm sorry." He didn't respond. Instead, his hand slowly reached toward you, with a gentleness you didn't expect. He began wiping your tears, carefully, tenderly, like your tears hurt him more than his own pain. His thumb brushed under your eyes, again and again, not missing a single drop. "Jungkook, don't cry," he whispered again. "Please don't cry." But then, screech. The car came to a sudden stop. "We've reached the mansion," the driver announced, but Jungkook didn't react to the words right away. He was still touching your cheek, still wiping away your sadness, until something pulled his attention. His eyes drifted toward the window again, and suddenly, he froze, his brows furrowed, blinking in confusion. This wasn't his old home. This wasn't the place with the screaming caretakers and the strict guards. It was new, big, bright. His hand slowly fell away from your cheek. He leaned forward, pressing his palm lightly on the window as if to confirm what he was seeing. Then, without a word, Jungkook opened the car door and stepped out. He stood for a second, his mouth slightly open in surprise. His eyes scanned the tall gates, the flowers at the entrance, the quietness in the air. And then, he smiled, not fake, not forced, a real glowing innocent smile, and he ran. His feet hit the ground quickly as he rushed toward the mansion, like a child finally finding something that felt like home. His shoulders relaxed as he sprinted, not even looking back at you. He was excited, curious, free. But you sat frozen inside the car, the open door beside you let in the cool breeze. You didn't move, you didn't look outside, you just sat there with tears still sliding down your cheeks. This was supposed to be your happiest day, the day little girls dream of their whole lives, but instead, it felt like the worst day of yours. You weren't the bride he wanted, you were just the replacement. The moment Jungkook stepped into the mansion, his eyes lit up. The grand entrance, the shining floors, the expensive decor. none of that mattered to him, because right there, right in the middle of the living room wall, a massive television. He gasped, and without thinking, he ran straight to it, arms wide open like a child running to a long-lost friend. "Jungkook, wah," he shouted with a bright smile, hugging the screen tightly. "A big TV. I have a big television." His cheeks puffed as he grinned, wiping away his own tears with his sleeves. The sadness, the betrayal, the confusion, the disappointment, everything disappeared from his mind in that 1 second. He finally got it, the one thing he always wanted. "Jungkook, Yin, look," he turned his head, still hugging the TV. "I have a big television now." But the hallway behind him was empty. "You weren't there." His smile faltered just a little, but his eyes wandered deeper into the mansion. That's when he saw it. Through the wide glass doors, the evening moonlight poured into the house from a beautiful wide garden, bright green grass, a fountain, flowers, trees. His heart jumped again. "Jungkook, Yin, look, a big park." He yelled louder, eyes sparkling, but again, no reply. He blinked, turning in a small circle, expecting your voice, your laugh, your face. But instead of you, something else caught his eye through the glass doors. A swing. It was right in the center of the big garden. Outside, tied to a thick branch, gently swaying with the breeze, white ropes, wooden seat, clean, untouched. And just like that, without a second thought, he ran. He dashed through the hallway, past the guards, through the garden door with childlike urgency. His shoes kicked against the floor, heart pounding with sudden happiness. The swing, his favorite thing, his safe place. He dropped onto it, clutching the ropes tightly and giggling quietly to himself, his legs rocking him back and forth. His tears had completely vanished now. "Jungkook, I have a swing. I have a swing," he whispered in pure joy, like it was a secret. You finally entered the mansion after almost half an hour. Your chest still felt heavy, but you forced yourself to breathe slowly. This was your decision now. You had to face him. You couldn't lose your friendship with Jungkook. You had to tell him this wasn't your fault. You didn't want him to hate you. So, swallowing down your fear, you finally stepped more inside. Your heels clicked softly against the floor as you entered, eyes scanning the hall. No sight of him. Only maids standing around, a few lowering their heads politely as you passed. Your heart skipped nervously. Where did he go? Was he again crying somewhere? You approached one of the maids, your voice small but firm. "Yin, where's Jungkook?" you asked. The maid gave a short bow. "We saw him going towards the bedroom, madam," she answered softly. "Down the hall to the left." You nodded, biting your bottom lip. Your stomach twisted with nerves again. Would he still look at you the same way? Or would you forever just be the girl who replaced his bride? You took a deep breath and turned toward the hallway. Ready or not, you had to face him. The bedroom light glowed dimly as you stepped in, the soft hum of the ceiling fan the only sound in the room. But your breath caught the moment your eyes fell on Jungkook. He was lying on the floor, just next to the bed, his body still like a doll dropped carelessly. Panic seized your chest as you rushed to him, your knees hitting on the carpet. "Yin, Jungkook," you whispered, your voice shaky, almost breaking. You patted his cheek gently again and again, but he didn't respond. "Yin, what the hell? Jungkook, please," you whispered louder, fear rising inside you like a storm. With trembling hands, you checked for a pulse, for his breathing. Your fingers hovered over his wrist, your ear pressed close to his chest. Relief crashed into you like a wave when you felt the slow, steady thump of his heart. He was alive, he was breathing, but unconscious. You were just about to scream for help, call someone, when a memory struck your mind like lightning. That dinner at his house, his mother, sitting at the head of the table, her voice quiet and careful when she told your parents. Sometimes, when Jungkook feels too much, when he's too excited or too heartbroken, his brain shuts down. He doesn't faint, exactly. He just falls into a deep sleep. The doctors say it's how his mind protects itself from emotional overload. And suddenly, your breath hitched. You looked down at him again, his expression calm, peaceful, as if the world had gone quiet inside him. But you knew this wasn't from excitement. This wasn't joy. It was sadness. It was heartbreak. And that pain, it came because of seeing you as his bride. Your hand flew up to cover your mouth as a cry escaped you. Tears burst from your eyes without control. You knelt beside him, your body shaking, and gently brushed the hair from his forehead. He looked so vulnerable like this, so soft and innocent. You leaned in, resting your forehead gently on his chest as sobs racked through your body. "Yin, What have I done? You whispered, voice thick with guilt. The pain in your chest felt unbearable. You were supposed to protect him. You were supposed to be his friend. And now, he lay there like this, silenced by a world too loud, too cruel, too confusing. You lifted your head slowly, your fingertips trembling as they caressed his cheeks. Yin, I'm sorry, Jungkook, you whispered, your voice cracking. I didn't mean to hurt you. I should have said no to this marriage. You leaned in and pressed the softest kiss to his forehead, full of everything you couldn't say, guilt, care, helplessness. Your hands rested gently on his chest as you promised. Yin, I'm going to make this right, even if it wasn't my fault. I'll ask for forgiveness 1,000 times, because you deserve an apology. You deserve to feel safe, to be happy. You didn't know how long it would take for him to wake up, but you stayed, watching him, protecting him, because now it was your turn to be the safe place for him. The sky outside was a pale shade of blue, early morning light slowly pouring in through the slightly open curtains. The room should have felt peaceful. The soft rustle of the wind outside, the distant chirp of birds waking to a new day, everything said calm, but something wasn't right. Jungkook wasn't still. The soft sound of him breathing had shifted into something harsher, louder, uneven. His body twitched. He was lying on the bed you had placed him the night before, but his limbs were no longer at rest. His hands clenched hard into the sheets, pulling them tight beneath his fists. His chest rose and fell at a frantic pace, sweat clinging to his forehead, dampening the strands of his dark hair. His head shook from side to side like he was fighting something in a dream. His lips parted, murmuring sounds. You weren't asleep completely. You hadn't been able to sleep properly on the couch. You had spent most of the night staring at the ceiling, eyes wide and dry, heart full of guilt you didn't ask for. But when you heard the noise, his shaking breath, you shot up. Your body moved before your thoughts could catch up, legs hitting the floor and carrying you across the room. Yin, Jungkook, your voice cracked. Your heart dropped when you saw him, his body twisting, his grip on the sheets so tight his knuckles had gone white, like he was trying to hold on to something that didn't want to stay. You rushed to the bed and dropped to your knees, hands reaching for his face, cupping his jaw carefully as you tried to wake him. Hey, Jungkook, wake up please. Your voice shook. You patted his cheeks gently, trying to coax him back to the surface. Yin, I'm here, okay? I'm right here. Just open your eyes. And slowly, he did. But what you saw when his eyes met yours made every nerve in your body turn cold. They weren't his eyes. Not the eyes that looked at you with innocent confusion or childlike wonder. These were sharp, dark, almost hollow. He blinked once, twice, but that warmth never returned. Jungkook, you tried to kill me, didn't you? The words were so quiet they almost didn't sound real, but the edge in his voice was real enough to cut your breath in half. You froze, your lips parted, confusion and terror rising in your throat all at once. Yin, Jungkook, it's me. But he didn't wait. Before you could blink, he was upright, hands flying to your neck, gripping you so hard, the air was punched from your lungs instantly. Your hands flew to his wrists, nails, digging into his skin, but his hold was unshakable. You couldn't even scream. Jungkook, you deserve to die, he hissed, eyes wide, a cold smile twitching on his lips. Your vision blurred from the tears and the pressure, your face turning red, your chest heaving with nothing but panic. Every second stretched endlessly, and all you could think was this can't be happening. This isn't him. This isn't real. Yin, please. Jungkook, I can't. Your voice broke, barely escaping your lips. Instinct took over. Your hand flew sideways, fingers wrapping around the table lamp without even looking. With all the strength you had left, you struck him, not to hurt him, not to injure, just enough to snap him out of it. Yin, Jungkook, stop, you screamed, voice raw and cracking. The blow wasn't sharp, but it was enough. His hand released your neck immediately, a low grunt falling from his lips as he stumbled back, holding his head. You gasped, clutching your neck, falling to the floor in a mess of limbs and sobs, coughing as your lungs sucked in air too fast. He wasn't bleeding, but your heart was. Your legs trembled as you pushed yourself up, backing away slowly. You searched for your phone, still your eyes never leaving him. You needed help. You needed to tell his father. So you ran. The sound of your feet echoed in the hallway, mixing with your breath and your heartbeat and the soft, shaking sobs. You couldn't hold back anymore. Behind you, something thudded. Jungkook had fallen. He had crumpled to the floor just a few feet from the bed, his hands still loosely around his head. His breathing slowed. His eyes blinked rapidly, confused, disoriented as if the world had just slammed into him. Jungkook, Yin, he whispered. His voice was fragile now, empty. He looked around desperately, trying to crawl, trying to lift himself. He called your name again and again. Yin, Yin, please. He remembered. It hit him like a truck. What he'd done, the confusion, the fear, the way your hands had trembled under his grip. He remembered the sound of you choking on your own breath, the pain in your eyes, the tears. He wasn't supposed to hurt you. He wasn't supposed to hurt his best friend. His body couldn't take it. The panic surged like a tsunami. It consumed every inch of him. His chest tightened. His limbs stopped moving. He couldn't think anymore, couldn't feel, couldn't breathe. Jungkook, I am sorry, Yin. He whispered one last time, barely a breath escaping, and then nothing. His body slumped fully, cheek pressed to the cold floor, lashes fluttering shut as silence fell across the room once more.